Welcome to the Fall Excel. Thank you for joining me. Hope you all are well. I'll also be bringing you updates pertaining to pop culture. Justin Timberlake's lawyer says he was not intoxicated. He's on tour in Europe right now, so he did not stand in personally, but he's been doing visits per video cam. But the representative for the district attorney's office says there was a discrepancy in the report, but the info stands as it is and nothing has been amended. So basically, I guess what she's saying is that he was intoxicated. That's how I took it. But what is the discrepancy? I don't know. It was not mentioned. Julie Chrisley will get a court appointment in September 25th. She will be resentenced. What will the sentencing be? I don't know. When I get that information, I'll also bring you an update to that information. And Sarah Boone, the woman who zipped her boyfriend up inside of a suitcase in Florida, she's decided to represent herself. And also pertaining to Ryan Anderson, Gypsy Rose's husband. He feels that Ken Urker needs to get a D job. Doesn't want to be talking about them per se, because he don't want them coming back at him, with the banter, but he just feels like he had to get that off his chest. What is he going to do for a living? Well, Ryan, he's going to live it up, I guess. That's why this case is so crazy as well. She's legally married to you and now pregnant with another man's baby. And I was thinking the same thing the other day. What does he do for a living? Because he had to move down there to Louisiana where she is, because they're always together, taking photographs and going live together. So does he work? Did he get a job? Where are they living? Who's paying the rent? Has she signed any more deals with any entities, production companies, networks? Because she doesn't seem to want to work herself. And some were saying that about her. And he defends her, Ryan. Well, he probably still has feelings for her. That's why he still defends her. But frankly, they both need to get a job, Ryan. How about that? They both need to work, okay? They both need to get a damn job. And if they both had a job, they'd have more things to do than stay online, going live, and worrying about stars and unicorns and all that other type of nonsense. So those are my latest updates. But I also want to bring you some commentary pertaining to also this young man missing out of the Bahamas. I believe his name is Mr. Bell. I brought you commentary about that a few weeks ago. News Nation has done information on him. I'll do a short on him as well. And then there's this person here in Knoxville who's been sentenced to 12 years for drag racing, where an elderly man was killed in a crash. And the other co-defendant, I don't guess she's gotten her sentence yet. Both are African American. And they decided to drag race down Magnolia Avenue a few years ago. And the elderly man was killed inside of his SUV van. Hold on 1 second, I'll give you his name. Hope you're all well this early morning. My movie of the week is New Year, New You. Very interesting movie. Check it out. Free on Hulu. Also, there's been an attack on a soccer field in Israel. Children were unalived. And a trial date has been set for those accused in the Young Dolph killing. Rapper Young Dolph. I'll also be making a short about that as well. And the rapper Julio Fulio, 3 individuals have been brought into custody. 2 males and a female. They also, I believe 2 more are also involved. 5 people total in his unaliving. Very sick stuff going on. And then there was a flash flood at Dollywood. I have all this posted to my community page. Let me give you the name of this young man who's gotten 12 years for this wreck here in Knoxville, Tennessee. And then we will continue with the information. Well, it was last year, it was drag racing, last January. Treshawn Glass has been sentenced to 12 years in prison, 6 years on vehicular homicide count, 4 years for each aggravated assault count, according to the Knox County District Attorney's Office. He pled guilty to the charges back in April. Okay. One person was killed and 7 others, including 2 children, were injured because one of the cars crashed into a woman's home. Trinity Clark is the other suspect in the drag racing incident. And it says when they ran a red light at Milligan, hitting an SUV being driven by Michael Williams. He was taken to the hospital where he later died. 2 children, ages 11 and 6 at the time, were taken to the hospital in critical condition. They underwent several surgeries and physical therapy over the following months before returning to school in August. This was last year. So Trinity Clark is the other suspect, black female. And then we have this Treshawn Glass. He has just received his sentence of 12 years in prison for this incident. Some may say 12 years isn't enough because you can't bring a life back. Indeed. Those are my updates. Justin Timberlake, lawyer, says he wasn't drunk. Knoxville man sentenced to 12 years of drag racing incident on Magnolia Avenue, Knoxville, Tennessee. Sarah Bull is going to represent herself. Julie Chrisley will be resentenced September 25th. That's what I have. And Ryan Anderson says that Ken Urker needs to get a job. Well, I concur. Welcome to the Vault Excel. Thank you for joining me, everybody.
My courtroom is back in session with more off-the-wall cases. She butchered my dog's haircut. You literally made this lady dog biracial.
Sorry about that. Did not mean for that to pop off like that. Anyway, here we go, everybody. Thank you for joining.
Hey, thanks for joining us. I'm Stacey Skrazak in for Eliza tonight. We're continuing our coverage of the death of Sonia Massie. A Sangamon County deputy shot and killed her in her home earlier this month. Body camera footage released earlier this week shows the moment she was shot. Former deputy Sean Grayson is charged with first-degree murder, and we are bringing you our Carson Gordy joining us live in Springfield, where supporters are holding a protest. Carson.
It's a walk that started at Unique's Bar and Grill about 12 minutes away from here. Protesters, hundreds of them, marching down to the Sangamon County building. That's where former deputy Sean Grayson used to work before he was fired after body cam footage showed him shooting Sonia Massie in the face. This was after Massie called 911 for help. We're going to step out of the frame and just show the scene right now. This area has been a location for multiple protests in the honor of Sonia Massie. Earlier, I saw signs that said, "I rebuke you in the name of Jesus." That was one of Sonia's last words that she said to the deputy. Another sign said that Sonia should still be alive. And the last sign was "Justice for Sonia Massie." I spoke to the organizer of the event. This march was scheduled to keep awareness and attention following her death. In the past couple of weeks, this story has become national news. I'm Carson Gordy. Back to you.
All right, thanks, Carson. Fox Illinois' Julia Rosier spoke with a professor in Pennsylvania about the body camera footage from the night of Massie's death. She joins us now in studio with more. Julia?
Stacey, that's right. I spoke with Kalfani Ture. He's an assistant professor of criminal justice and African American studies at Widener University in Pennsylvania. Before that, he was a police officer in Georgia. He broke down his thoughts on the body camera footage.
My reaction was tears.
The body camera footage of the shooting of Sonia Massie continues to sweep the nation.
This happens in fractions of a second that he loses any temperament, any sense of restraint that's expected of an officer.
Kalfani Ture is an assistant professor of criminal justice and African American studies at Widener University in Pennsylvania. But before, he was a police officer in Georgia for 5 years. He also works in an extended police academy with the NYPD for the last 3 years.
I will simply say to you that upon entering her home, I
it became clear to me that she wasn't a threat to the officers.
Duray called the body camera footage mind-boggling.
Officer Grayson was extremely aggressive and condescending from the point that he encountered her. I'm standing outside her door. I mean, even joking about the possibility of her being already dead.
Duray thinks the deputy went too far.
The goal of it is to keep citizens or persons out of harm's way, to include the officer or the responding officers. And that gaining control of the threat may involve incapacitation, which is lethal force, further down the continuum. But you only manage the threat or manage the problem.
Duray tells me body cameras for law enforcement are very important for transparency, especially for the public. He believes that cameras should be activated at all times. In studio, and Julia Rosier, back to you. Thanks, Julia. Under the Law Enforcement Officer Ward Body Camera Act, officers assigned to wear cameras must have their camera on at all times when they are on duty. And we do have new details on the deputy who was arrested for shooting Sonia Massie. We've learned Sangamon County Sheriff Jack Campbell knew about Sean Grayson's previous brushes with the law and decided to hire him anyway. Sean Grayson has 2 previous DUI arrests. The first DUI was in 2015, the second in 2016 for driving on a suspended license. Sonia Massie's death has sparked new calls for legislative reform when it comes to policing. State Senator Doris Turner has vowed to do what she can to institute change in Illinois. Nationally, lawmakers have called for the passage of the George Floyd Justice in Policing Act. Good evening, and thanks for joining us. I'm Dawn Sterling. We're continuing our coverage of the death of Sonia Massie. Sonia was shot and killed on July 6th during an encounter with Sangamon County deputies. Her family and the Springfield community are continuing to demand justice, with protests and marches happening around the capital city. Massie's family is making sure her case stays front and center. Tonight, a rally made its way through Springfield calling for justice. Fox Illinois' Carson Gordy joins us in the studio with the latest.
With calls and chants, protesters made clear they want justice and accountability for the death of Sonia Massie. A protest had started in a parking lot.
Sister's killing, and it's been happening so many times.
Before marching a half a mile to the Sangamon County complex.
Accountability top to bottom, nationwide. This is beautiful, the fact that it's nationwide.
Hundreds of people continued to call and chant for justice for Sonia Massie, not wanting her name to fade away after she was shot and killed by a Sangamon County deputy. The shooting of Sonia Massie has become a national story, with questions being raised about the former deputy Sean Grayson's arrest history and 6 jobs in law enforcement in 4 years. Signs read, "I rebuke you in the name of Jesus," one of Massie's last words to the deputy who shot her.
You can be evil.
People said the protests need to continue.
This is what we need to do every day. And cannot let our good sisters stand and go in vain. We're holding everybody accountable. I'm here because y'all hold me accountable. And I want to see that same thing to everybody in the county board here. Hold them accountable, y'all.
As the protest is wrapping up, a woman called on people to attend the Sangamon County Board meeting on August 13th and voice their concerns to officials. I'm Carson Gordy. Back to you.
Thank you, Carson. And happening tomorrow, civil rights attorney Ben Crump will hold another news conference with more details on the case. According to his office, the autopsy report for Sonia Massie is set to be released tomorrow. And we have new details on the deputy arrested for shooting Sonia Massie. We have learned Sangamon County Sheriff Jack Campbell knew about Sean Grayson's previous brushes with the law and decided to hire him anyway. Sean Grayson has 2 previous DUI arrests, the first in 2015, the second DUI in 2016 for driving on a suspended license. Now, Grayson's former commanding officer, the United States Army, mentioned in a letter of recommendation, and it says, quote, "Aside from Mr. Grayson's DUI, there were no other issues he had during his tenure in the Army," end quote. The body camera
So let's go there. they say it was something serious, but they won't say what it is. So here, this person is saying he didn't have any other issues except for the DUI. So was the DUI the issue with Sean Grayson in the military? We also hear the Sacramento County chief hired him knowing he had previous run-ins with the law with drinking and driving. So one's going to say, well, why did you hire him? Why did the other agencies hire him? Why would you also allow the state of Illinois to allow him to go through the police academy? Make it make sense. Why would you allow him to go through the academy with these DUIs? And obviously, the discharge from the Army didn't bother you either, I guess because it wasn't a dishonorable discharge, but it still means something happened there. Now we have this person saying it's the DUI. Is that all that's to it?
Footage of the shooting was released earlier this week. It shows the minutes leading up to when Sonia Massie was shot by Sean Grayson. The video was also cited in the state's attorney's petition to keep Grayson detained until his trial. Fox Illinois' Julia Rosier spoke with a professor in Pennsylvania about that body camera footage. She joins us now with his insights on what the video shows and the use of force that led to Massie's death.
My reaction was tears.
The body camera footage of the shooting of Sonia Massie continues to sweep the nation.
This happens in fractions of a second that he loses any temperament, any sense of restraint that's expected of an officer.
Kalfani Toure is an assistant professor of criminal justice and African American studies at Widener University in Pennsylvania. But before, he was a police officer in Georgia for 5 years. He also works in an extended police academy with the NYPD for the last 3 years.
I will simply say to you that upon entering her home, it became clear to me that she wasn't a threat to the officers.
Toure called the body camera footage mind-boggling.
Officer Grayson was extremely aggressive and condescending from the point that he encountered her. I'm standing outside her door. I mean, even joking about the possibility of her being already dead.
Toure thinks the deputy went too far.
The goal of it is to keep citizens or persons out of harm's way, to include the officer or the responding officers. And that gaining control of the threat may involve incapacitation, which is lethal force, further down the continuum. But you only use the level of force which is necessary to manage the threat or manage the problem.
That was Julia Rosier reporting. Under the Law Enforcement Officer Worn Body Camera Act, officers assigned to wear cameras must have their camera on at all times when they're on duty. And Fox Illinois is working for you. We've been covering this story since it broke over 2 weeks ago, almost 3 now. You can head over to our website for a full list of content from the reports of the initial 911 call to the latest developments into the case against former deputy being charged in Sonia's death, as well as the response from her loved ones. All you have to do is go to foxillinois.com. Well, we are learning more information about the shooting death of Sonia Massie this evening. Thanks for being with us. I'm Dawn Sterling. A Sangamon County deputy shot and killed Sonia Massie 2 weeks ago inside her home. Today, we're learning details from her autopsy. The autopsy confirms the 36-year-old died from a gunshot wound to the head. The bullet entered just under her left eye and exited the back of her neck. The autopsy also confirms she was not under the influence of drugs. And more details are continuing to come to light about Sean Grayson's past service with the military and other law enforcement jobs. Fox Illinois' Carson Gordy is working for you, digging into the former deputy's history. He joins us now live.
Earlier today, I had a one-on-one interview with Ben Crump. He is representing Sonia Massie's family. He says he has questions on how Sean Grayson was hired by the Sangamon County Sheriff's Department.
When you look at all the red flags there, the fact that he had the issues in the military, the fact that he had 2 DUI charges. And
according to the Sangamon County Sheriff's Office, they were aware of a serious misconduct issue in the military, which they believe to be another DUI. Sangamon County says the sheriff's office had documents saying he was giving a general honorable discharge from the military and a letter of recommendation from the military officer that said Grayson had no issues aside from that DUI arrest. The county told us they were aware that Grayson had multiple DUIs before they hired him.
From being hired by this sheriff's department in Sangamon County, they should have known about the allegations in the Logan Sheriff's Department.
Logan County Sheriff's Department was Grayson's most recent job before moving to Sangamon County. According to documents, the department filed multiple disciplinary reports on Grayson. This includes Grayson going 110 miles per hour in a high-speed pursuit, even after being told to stop, resulting in him striking a deer. And a grievance form was filed against Grayson by a man claiming that Grayson visited him in jail to intimidate him.
Wow.
After arresting his fiancée on drug possession, Grayson took the job in Sangamon County before it was officially investigated.
Well,
Let's stop there. So these are the two allegations, allegedly unfounded. Will they be reinvestigated by the DOJ? Because now the Department of Justice has intervened and they are investigating this crime against Ms. Massie. So we have more information. A woman claims he was inappropriate with her. What did he do? Then we also heard he went now to jail, which was claimed by the man, abuse of power, I guess, to intimidate him. So how would he have known these two knew each other or were dating? That's confusing to me. Were they together at the time of the arrest? Because that's the only way I can see that. They were together at the time of the arrest. She goes in one car, he goes in another, and he gets to the jail, and then Sean visits him. Why would you be visiting an inmate? That makes no sense to me. You have no business talking to the inmate. Your job is out here in the public. So what are you doing in the jail, visiting someone that you have arrested? That makes no sense to me. And whoever allowed that, you were wrong to let him go in there if that's true. Now, what happened with the female? Did you do or say something to her? Inappropriate, what was it? Touched her, fondled her, what? Said something out of the way? And will they go back in time to any arrest that he has done? In every jurisdiction, because he's worked for what? 6 agencies. So will the DOJ go back to every police stop, sheriff stop, and arrest inquiries? We also learned that he was deceptive in his reporting on in his writings, and that they said they would not tolerate that. That I believe that came from the Logan County, Logan Sheriff's Department. And that they said also to him, you'll end up in jail for this type of behavior. And lo and behold, that is where he is. How interesting is that? That everyone was speaking something into existence. Officers from Logan County told him he would end up in jail for his behavior if he didn't follow instructions, not be deceptive. Then they're outside this woman's door, knocking, making a comment about, oh, she's not dead in there or something like to that effect. And then lo and behold, 30-something minutes later, she is dead. Just interesting, ironic conversation. That's it's in the Bible. If you claim it, if you speak it, you can speak it into existence. It's just the way it is. That's why you have to be careful what you claim, what you say. Sometimes you say things you don't think you're actually claiming it, but you're speaking it out loud. It's probably best not to even think anything negative. Because I'm sure he never thought he would be in jail for unaliving a civilian, but that is where he is. I'm sure that woman didn't think she would be unaliving her own kitchen. Now, who's going to stand account for this unaliving besides Mr. Sean Grayson? Also, will the family file a lawsuit against Sangamon County and also the state of Illinois because the state of Illinois allowed him to go into the academy in the first place.
Either they were aware or they should have been aware before they hired him. If they were being prudent in their hiring process, they should have knew all these things.
Sangamon County said in a statement in part, quote, "We were not provided any such information from any of Grayson's former employers nor any crediting agency, and that they cannot
Let me hear that again.
Being prudent in their hiring process, they should have knew all these things.
Sangamon County said in a statement in part, quote, "We were not provided any such information from any of Grayson's former employers nor any crediting agency."
So you never inquired about why he left the other jobs. That makes no sense to me. He had to have written down where he previously worked. So you need to tell me no one asked him, well, why did you leave this place? Why did you leave this place? That makes no sense to me. You have to ask why. You had to know about the Army discharge. You asked him about that. But now you're sitting there saying, we didn't receive anything, I guess, negative from these places. You wouldn't receive anything if you didn't ask. So say, ask and ye shall receive. But if you didn't call him to say, hey, why did he leave? So you just asked him why he left. Is that what you're saying? Or did you even ask? Were you also desperate for an officer or deputy who didn't care? Because it looks like that's what was going on in each of these departments. Now, Sean says he left the part-time jobs because he wanted full-time work. As I said before, I figured that's probably why he left some of those jobs, the part-time, because he didn't get full-time. And I'm sure in those small areas, they don't have a lot of police officers because they don't have the need to have a lot of officers, deputies, small rural places, whatever. So that's his excuse for the part-time jobs. But then where it would come into question, as I said before, the full-time jobs, people would question those. Like, okay, when you work full-time, what happened at that one? What happened with the second one? So we also get information from Mr. Grayson that, well, he didn't want to move when asked by one of the agencies. Hey, you gotta live within 10 miles, city limit, town limits. And a lot of towns are like that. If you're a politician or whatever, you have to live in that jurisdiction. You can't, live, let's say, over here in another county and then try to hold a political post in a neighboring town. So I get that. So what's the truth to all the places? Lack of hours, didn't want to move, and now he's fired altogether.
That they cannot comment on whether the information is accurate or why it was not shared by another agency. I'm Carson Gordy, back to you.
Thank you, Carson. Crump says they're considering suing Sangamon County in civil court over Massie's death. Tom Grayson was fired from the department and is now facing multiple charges, including first-degree murder. Grayson pled not guilty last week. A judge has denied him pretrial release. He's set to return to court in August. The NAACP releasing a statement today that reads in part, quote, "We demand action on meaningful police reform legislation from elected officials. Nothing will weaken our resolve to call for justice now and vote for accountability in November." Good evening. We begin with that fatal phone call. Another law enforcement agency denouncing the scene caught on deputy's body camera the night Sonia Massie was killed. A Sangamon County sheriff's deputy shot the 36-year-old mother after she called 911 for help. Fox Illinois' Carson Gordy has reaction from the Illinois Sheriff's Association.
I met with Jim Kychuk at the Illinois Sheriff's Association and discussed what he saw during the body cam footage showing Grayson fatally shooting Sonia Massie.
Terribly disturbing, to say the very least. That's something where we're supposed to go help someone on a call and it could turn into a situation that it never had to turn into.
He says he watched the body cam footage. He said a gun did not need to be pulled and steps needed to be taken to de-escalate the situation. He added that it hurt to watch the video.
Pot in and of itself is not a deadly threat, so we would talk her into putting the pot down. I wouldn't have said it like he did. Certainly, words matter in a situation like this. I understand there's stress involved, but it didn't need to escalate to that point. I mean,
Project says this is a situation that he hopes never happens again.
on behalf of the sheriffs, all the sheriffs of the state, we would certainly, apologize and offer our condolences to the family, because this is not how we're trained. This is not how.
This man speaking is from the Illinois Sheriff's Association.
We train deputies. This is a horrible situation and one that we hope never happens again.
If convicted of the murder charges, Grayson could face life in prison. I'm Carson Gordy, back to you.
All right, thank you. Carson Grayson's next court appearance is scheduled for August 26th. Well, today we are learning details from Massie's autopsy. The autopsy confirmed the 36-year-old died from a gunshot wound to the head. The bullet entered just under her left eye and exited the back of her neck. The autopsy also confirmed she was not under the influence of drugs. We've also learned that Sonia interacted with law enforcement just hours before she was killed. During today's news conference, her son Malachi said Sonia drove herself to St. John's Hospital on July 5th for her mental health. Her family says it's an issue she's been dealing with. Malachi says that same night, Sangamon County deputies showed up at Sonia's house asking questions about her.
I talked to two officers or whatever, and I believe that it's the same officer that shot my mother. I talked to his partner first, then the second officer, that's the one that I think the one that did that. She got herself to the hospital. They told me that they were going to go there to help her, and then this happened.
Sangamon County says at least one deputy was at Sonia Massie's home on July 5th, but it wasn't Sean Grayson, the deputy who shot her, or the other deputy that responded on July 6th. Springfield Police Department also confirmed that they responded to a separate call at Massie's mother's house within city limits, checking in on Sonia's mental health.
Okay, so now we have it confirmed that Sean Grayson was not at her house earlier. So the son did not have that information correct. That is what is being reported. Neither was his partner. So I had mentioned that before when he was on the body cam asking, the dispatch had called in asking was she a 1096, which means a person who's had contact, a middle person who's had contact with law enforcement. I thought that would be kind of strange to be calling in on your camera, if you knew. But here they're saying he did not know nothing about her allegedly, nor did the other guy, because they were not the officers that were there earlier. You also hear that some officers went out to her mother's house to check on her. Don't know who those officers are. And one did go to the house, but she was gone. She went to the hospital on her own and drove herself. And you heard the son say that before. I went to the house, but she was gone. She obviously got in her car and drove to check on herself, get herself checked in. And there was an officer there. But you obviously had them mistaken. They're not the same. That guy, whoever that officer is not Grayson or his partner. So hopefully that will stand on verification.
Also, during today's news conference, civil rights lawyer Ben Crump asked how someone convicted of driving under the influence could be hired as a sheriff's deputy.
How do you even have a driver's license? Much less get the job as a sheriff's deputy. Many questions to be answered.
Sangamon County Sheriff Jack Campbell issued a statement answering this question. It says, in part, quote, the Illinois Law Enforcement Training and Standards Board reviewed the information, which included the DUI convictions. They certified Grayson for hire and advised that he had been certified several times in the past, despite the history of DUIs.
So that's where there's a problem. So why would the Illinois board, the ILETSB, certify him for hire? That's where this starts. I always say go to the beginning, so this is the beginning. Why would you hire him with the DUIs? Because my problem is, the criminal record, period. Even if he had not shot her, didn't matter who it was. Why would you hire anyone with a record? Now, we have learned that people, officers, state troopers, whomever, get records while working. And I guess it depends on the agency at hand, how they want to handle the situation, depending on what the crime is. Something, something like this, I may say this is petty, drinking and driving, but so what many people are going to say to themselves, we assume that you're going to hire people that don't have any criminal records. Same thing with the Army, the military. You can have something done in your youth because that's sealed. Nobody will know about that. But once you turn 18, anything you do is public record unless you get it expunged. But I don't think the military wants busybodies, criminals in the military. So to me, I would assume it would be the same with law enforcement. So that's why I made the comment. Were these agencies so desperate for help, they didn't care that he had a record of DUIs. Records, rather. That's what's baffling to me, because you can't have one without the other. To even just go and apply for the academy training program, however it works, they had to run a background, they saw it and they didn't care, because those go back 15, 16. He didn't become an officer until 20 or went to work in 2020. So they had time to see. Every agency he went had to see the record and they had no problem. So we have the board saying they didn't have a problem with it. We have Sacramento County saying they didn't have a problem with it. And that they didn't receive anything negative from the other agencies where he worked as far as disciplinary actions, reprimands, so on and so forth. No, because you know what they do? They do just like what they do with priests. They push them out or they leave and they don't say nothing. And they're hoping you don't call asking. So if the state lets them keep the damn badge, I guess it don't matter what Pookie or Ray has to say about you over here at this other agency, because you still got the damn badge. Very bizarre.
Now, Sean Grayson was fired from the department and is now facing multiple charges, including a first-degree murder. Grayson pleaded not guilty last week. A judge has denied him pretrial release. He is set to return to court in August. And coming up at 9:30, we're going to have new details about Grayson's employment history. Meanwhile, the Fraternal Order of Police Labor Council filed a grievance over his termination. In the grievance, the union claims Grayson was terminated without cause. It also says the sheriff's office violated its collective bargaining agreement by sharing the details of the investigation and firing with the public. The union is asking for Grayson to be reinstated and to be reimbursed for lost wages.
Wow, so here's breaking news. The Fraternal Order of Police filing a grievance against the sheriff's office and claims that Sean Grayson was fired without cause and to have him reinstated with pay. Did everyone hear that? And that they should not have shared any of this information with the public. Well, let's just say this, the union. You don't have any jurisdictions over the military. So it's up to the military to reveal what they want to reveal. As for any issues that he had with Logan Sheriff Department or wherever, Arnie, wherever, oh well, they told it. Logan County told it. It's out. So now you're saying they didn't have a right. So let's ask that question, because I don't know the laws of Illinois or any law enforcement laws about revealing personal information when a person is arrested. Is it right or legal for them to give out any grievances, reprimands by the suspect? But that's usually what happens when people get arrested. Their past comes to light and things come out. So did the sheriff's office violate his rights by revealing what was said about him? I don't know. I don't know anything about it. So the Fraternal Order Police, the union, wants him reinstated. How do you feel about that? I'm going to put that on my community board.
Good evening. Thanks for staying with us tonight. More details are continuing to come to light about Sean Grayson's past service with the military and other law enforcement jobs. Grayson is charged with 3 counts of first-degree murder in the death of Sonia Massie. Fox Illinois' Carson Gordy is working for you, digging into the former deputy's history.
I sat down with Massie's attorney, Ben Crump, and he's questioned why Grayson was hired by the Sangamon County Sheriff's Office.
When you look at all the red flags there, the fact that he had the issues in the military, the fact that he had 2 DUI charges. And
According to the Sangamon County Sheriff's Office, they were aware of a serious misconduct issue in the military, which they believe to be another DUI. Sangamon County says the Sheriff's Office had documents saying he was giving a general honorable discharge from the military, and a letter of recommendation from a military officer that said Grayson had no issues aside from that DUI arrest. The county told us they were aware that Grayson had multiple DUIs before they hired him.
from being hired by this sheriff's department in Sangamon County, they should have known about the allegations in the Logan Sheriff's Department.
Logan County Sheriff's Department was Grayson's most recent job before moving to Sangamon County. According to documents, the department filed multiple disciplinary reports on Grayson. This includes Grayson going 110 miles per hour in a high-speed pursuit, even after being told to stop, resulting in him striking a deer. And a grievance form was filed against Grayson by a man claiming that Grayson visited him in jail to intimidate him after arresting his fiancée on drug possession. Grayson took the job in Sangamon County before it was officially investigated,
Well,
Let me go back here.
resulting in him striking a deer. And a grievance form was filed against Grayson by a man claiming.
Trying to see what they're saying. Did you know she is living with him and they are together? He was telling me that. See, this shows me that something was wrong here. Why would you go into the jail asking him stuff? I don't understand. It says, I said, no, not really. He said, well, did you know that he bailed Chelsea out for 7 large? So that right there, that don't even sound like a made up conversation. Why would this guy be repeating this stuff in a report? That Sean was telling him, hey, did you know this other guy bailed her out of jail, blah, 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 blah. I don't think that guy made that up. This makes no sense to me. Why are you going to a jail? Like I just said, he had no business visiting anyone in jail. You are a deputy officer, whichever agency you're working for at the time. You had no business going over there meddling with those folks in the jail. What do you care about who bailed out somebody's girlfriend? It's none of your business. What you want him to do? Snitch on her? Tell on her? Oh, here, I'll tell you what your girlfriend's been doing. Now you tell us what happened and who got the drugs, blah, blah, blah. This is so ridiculous to me. Street ghetto ratchetness. That's what it says. When I came to the chuck hole, he asked me if I knew who Russell Shelton was. I said, no, not really. And he said, well, did you know that he bailed Chelsea out for 7 large? And did you know she is living with him and they are together? Goes on to say something else. Yeah, I don't think that guy was making any of that up. This is street shit is what this has become. But this is what always happens with people when they get into trouble or whatever, however you want to word it. Stuff starts coming out, people start talking. So now we have to wait to see what else somebody has to say, what version somebody else will bring out to the forefront pertaining to Mr. Grayson and his behavior. And I'm also going to bring you commentary, don't know how factual it is, pertaining to his fiance. Because I did ask if he was dating anybody, married, had children. We'll get to that after this audio plays.
Claiming that Grayson visited him in jail to intimidate him after arresting his fiancée on drug possession. Grayson took the job in Sangamon County before it was officially investigated.
well, either they were aware or they should have been aware before they hired him. If they were being prudent in their hiring process, they should have knew all these things.
Sangamon County said in a statement in part, quote, "We were not provided any such information from any of Grayson's former employers, nor from any crediting agency, and that we can't comment on whether the information is accurate, nor why it was not shared by another agency." I'm Carson.
So now it sounds like Sangamon County's downplaying he had negative things said about him from Logan Sheriff Department, Police Department. Well, if you are hiring someone, wouldn't you want to know? But it is also up to the other agency if they want to divulge anything personal. So let me say this, like any job. Sangamon County could have called Logan County to say, how was he as a cop? And they could have lied and said, oh, everything's fine, we don't have anything negative to say, and then they go ahead and hire him, because that does happen. And I've heard that with many jobs, they'll say, we don't tell future employers about what Susie Mae did or what Jack did, which I think if they did something terrible or horrible, you should tell it. Why not? So what's the truth pertaining to this tit for tat? We don't know this and this. Sangamon County don't know nothing about what happened at Logan County, Logan Sheriff's Department, whatever it is. Did they actually call and they told him something negative and they hired him anyway? Or they didn't inquire? They didn't care. They just looked at the sheet of paper. Oh, you used to work there? Okay. Poof, you're hired. What's the truth? Was there any verification for the Logan's department and other departments that he worked? Did you ask about his disposition? His attitude, reprimands? What's the truth?
Gordy, back to you.
Thanks, Carson. Crump says they are considering suing Sangamon County over Massie's death. This would be in addition to the criminal charges Sean Grayson is facing.
So now we hear Mr. Crump saying they are contemplating or going over the idea of suing Sangamon County. So should they also sue the state? Because the state is who allowed him to become an officer in the first place. Because as I said, you have to start at the beginning. The beginning is allowing him to train. So will they sue the state? Also Sangamon County. Also Sean Grayson. What a story. Lord have mercy. I still don't understand why you allow somebody to train to be an officer or a deputy with a criminal record. I never heard such.
Massie's son Malachi says Grayson had no compassion for his mother during their interaction.
He was good from the beginning, because I watched one clip of like the first part of it. He just had no regards for my mother, so he needs to have no regards for him. We can lock down as long as possible.
Malachi and the family's attorney, Ben Crump, presented the autopsy findings at a press conference this morning. According to her son, Massie talked to law enforcement about her mental health just hours before she was killed. The NAACP released a statement today that reads in part, quote, "We demand action on meaningful police reform legislation from elected officials. Nothing will weaken our resolve to call for justice now and vote for accountability in November." Well, a group on Facebook is planning a national day of mourning in honor of Sonia Massie. Residents in Louisville are planning to meet in their town for it, but they're encouraging people nationwide to gather where they can get together for the event. The day of mourning will take place Sunday at 1 p.m. And the calls for justice for Sonia Massie now expanding well beyond Illinois' borders. This video showing a protest held for Massie at Washington Square Park in New York City. Other protests have also been planned in cities across the U.S. to call for police reform and accountability.
So several cities had peaceful gatherings in honor of Miss Massie. Chicago, one of the cities, New York City, had a nice turnout in New York City. Also, Springfield, Chicago, other jurisdictions. What is going to befall this former deputy, besides being incarcerated? He's pled not guilty to the charges. The other man who's there, the other deputy, he has not been charged. Mr. Crump says they are contemplating a lawsuit against Sangamon County. What's next? Reform. Biden is hoping that they can get lawmakers to pass this George Floyd Act. But as you see, every time you talk about someone being hurt by the police, black, white, or whomever, another person has been unalive. And I just got information that a woman in Fort Lee, New Jersey, was shot in her apartment by the police. She had a knife. Her brother called 911. She was in an apartment with another woman. They were all outside the door. He and the officers, they decided to breach the door because they would not come out. And when they breached the door, she came toward them with a knife and they shot her dead in the chest. She is no longer alive.
Officers took to the streets of Chicago today demanding justice for Sonia Massie, the black woman fatally shot this month by a deputy who was responding to her 911 call. The demonstration comes just days after ISP released the body cam footage of the incident. Grayson has since been jailed without bond. He was fired last week by the Sangamon County Sheriff's Office, though Illinois State's Attorney General is now questioning why he was hired in the first place.
Question as to whether he should have been employed by the first police department that hired him, based on things that transpired before he put on a badge, before he put on the uniform.
Grayson was arrested and charged with first-degree murder, aggravated battery with a firearm, and official misconduct. He pleaded not guilty. Good evening. Thanks for joining us. In Comanhasset, hundreds of people gathering in honor of Sonia Massie for a day of mourning at Common-Cox Park today. Sonia was shot in her home on July 6th by a Sangamon County Sheriff's deputy after calling for help. Rallies have been held all across the country in support of Sonia's family and to demand police reform.
It's important we all gather because it has to stop. The violence against the innocent Black Americans that are getting killed for no reason, as you see. So this is why we're here. We're here to support each other, gather around each other during this difficult time.
Former Deputy Sean Grayson has been charged with murder, and his next court appearance is scheduled for August 26th.
Don't miss a video. Subscribe to.
All right, so one protester standing out there has a sign that says, Campbell resigns. Should Chief resign? Jack Campbell. He says he's not stepping down. This usually happens when there is a fatality, and he says he's not stepping down. There you have it. The family has spoken again. Feel free to check out that information on my community page. Miss Massie's family, her first cousin has spoken. Young lady who considered her like a sister. I'm going to read you some information from Distractify. Don't know all the facts of this information, but when I get an update, I will surely bring it to you. Distractify.com is the source. Grayson has pled not guilty to Massie's alleged murder. Now many are looking into his personal life, including if he's married. Here's what to know. Grayson, 30, wasn't married at the time of Massie's death, July 6, 2024. We do know he's engaged to Isabel Butterfield, who was reportedly a nurse practitioner in Springfield, Illinois. Grayson and Butterfield's wedding is set for October 19, 2024, per the Not Wedding Registry. There's no information on when the couple began dating or when they became engaged. However, his fiancée is reportedly tied to the department he worked at when he responded to Massie's 911 call. A December 2020 post from Sangamon County Sheriff's Office shows photos of Isabel with retired Sangamon Chief Deputy Scott Butterfield. In the photos, Butterfield smiles next to two other women who appear to be his wife and daughter as he celebrates his retirement. Multiple reports claim that Scott is Isabel's father, and Grayson was hired into the department. However, there is no concrete evidence that Grayson's connection to the Butterfields had anything to do with his job. After Grayson was fired from his position as deputy sheriff, body cam footage of him allegedly killing Massie surfaced. The footage showed him asking Massie how she was doing mentally, to which she replied she had taken her medicine that day. The question led to reports Massie and Grayson may have known each other through his fiancée before he came to her house, though their connection hasn't been confirmed. So why would they ask that? Because he asked how she's doing mentally. Are you trying to say the nurse practitioner treated her? His girlfriend treated her? Where is this going? I don't do these conspiracies, but I don't know what's this comment supposed to mean. Neither Isabel Butterfield nor her family has publicly acknowledged Massie's shootings or Grayson's ongoing charges. Why not? Why haven't you all come out to support him or not support him? I doubt there'll be a marriage in October because the judge is not letting him out. Okay? More from Distractify below this article if you need to see anything else written by these authors. So we hear he's dating some woman, Isabel. Her father worked for the same Sangamon County, now retired. He also worked for the same agency before shooting Sonia Massie. So one could say he came along and what? Met her what? At a party, a function. Make it make sense. One rumor I heard on YouTube a little while ago, tonight rather, is that her father, the same chief deputy, helped him get the job at Sangamon County. So when we find out he's been dating this girl for some time and he was out looking for a job and she said, oh, well, by the way, I'll talk to my father and let's see what he can do. So you got to prove he was dating this woman while needing a job. I don't know. Or he was already hired at Sangamon County last year and they started dating. Let me go back. So that was 2020 where she posted a picture of she and the father, mother. Let's see. The wedding is set for October 19th per the not wedding registry. No information on when the couple began dating or when they became engaged. Well, somebody knows. So once again, when did the two start dating? Because many people are going to question that. When did the two start dating? Where did they meet? And what are the odds he's dating a female whose father used to work for the department? So some will say, well, he came on while her father was still there. That don't make sense because he retired at 20, so well, that can't be true because he just got the job in 23. So that means her father was already gone. Let's start there. The father retired in 2020. There's a photo on Facebook at a retirement gathering. So the father left in 2020. He just became a cop in 2020 and didn't get to the Sangamon County until last spring. So he would not have been there when her father was there. The father already would have retired. So what we have to ask ourselves, he met her at some point when he became a cop. Let's go there. And maybe they met while he was bouncing around from agency to agency. And then she said, oh, yeah, my dad's a cop over here, or whatever his position is. Maybe he can help get you on over here. See, you don't know. Because people live in small towns, but people interchange and, you know, meet people. Because when you live in counties that are close together, like where I live, it's like anywhere in the U.S., you live by other counties, okay? We've got all these different counties surrounding, you know, Knox County. And most of us know each other from different counties. So maybe that's what happened. He lived over here, she lived over there, but somehow they crossed paths, they knew of each other. One thing begat another. Hey, I need a job. Oh, my dad works over here, or my dad used to work over here, so we don't know, because like they said, we don't know when they started dating. But this is very, very interesting information. The ties that bind. So now we do have a connection of her father used to work for Sacramento County, and he just got fired from Sacramento County. He had only been there a year. So what's the 411 with these three entities? I don't know. Will he get out of jail on a bail or bond? I don't know. Should he be released on a bail or bond? Some say no. The union is trying to fight for him to get out. Obviously, have him reinstated with pay. But he's got to be free to get a bail first. So even if the state, a judge rules that the state was wrong, or Sacramento County was wrong for firing him, he gets his pay reinstated, still can't make the judge let him out. So that would still be a problem. That would still be a problem. Oh yeah, here's your pay. You're still fired from this place. I don't know. I don't know much about all that reinstatement stuff. But that's what the union is fighting for. The order of police is for him to be reinstated with pay. And they're also filing a grievance against Sacramento County for releasing personal information about his arrest and past, whatever was told by Logan County. If you'd like to donate to this great network, $BeGanji 129 Cash App. Thank you all so much for your time. I'll be back later on this week with pop culture, and we will be talking about Ryan Anderson and a few more other people who have made social media. We'll talk a little bit about that possibly tomorrow. This nonsense between he and Gypsy Rose. I'm continuing my conversation. He feels like Ken Urker needs to get a job. So we'll continue that conversation later this week. Please check out my community posts and my shorts. New Year, New You is my movie of the week, free on Hulu. You all have a wonderful week, and I'll be back a little bit later. Thank you. You have been listening to the Vault XL.